Greetings and salutations, and thanks for clicking on the video. Today we are going to take a look at managing user accounts in Linux, and we are going to talk about passwords and a little bit about the etiquette that goes along with having multiple accounts on the same machine. When Linus Torvalds wrote the Linux kernel in 1991, he modeled it after the Minix systems he was using at school in Helsinki, Finland. He wanted one at home. He couldn't afford it, so he said, hey, I'll just write my own system that'll run on a home-type desktop hardware. And Minix was a system that was based on Unix, and it was designed specifically for small computers, not necessarily big mainframes that take up whole rooms, but smaller computers that would have multiple workstations. And so the Linux system carries all of those security features that were in Unix and Minix in it, and so it makes it a great environment for multiple users. Now, most of us at home at best are going to have maybe 2 or 3 extra accounts on our machine other than our own, but this stuff is really designed for working with computers that have hundreds of accounts, and it's extremely secure. So let's jump right in and start talking about this. And I'm going to try and help you to avoid a few pitfalls as we go along. Open up your settings menu and open up user accounts, and you are the administrator here, so you'll want to unlock this so that you have power over everybody's accounts. Right now I only have one account in this machine. It is myself. So we're going to create an account, and we are going to make sure that all of the other people that have access to this computer are standard users. We do not want 2 administrators on the same machine. That's not a good idea. You are the administrator, and you really should not give away your administrator password to the people who use your machine. You really want it so that they can, that if they want to install software, if they want to change something that requires administrator privileges, that they have to come to you. This way you know what's going to happen with the machine. You are super user, it's your computer. But if you give somebody else administrative privileges by adding them to the right group, then they will be able to make changes to the machine and install software, and you won't know what's going on, and that's never a good thing. So we're going to make standard accounts here. And we're going to call our user Bob, I don't know, Roberts. Why not? And it suggests a username. The usernames have to be lowercase. They can have numbers in them if you like. But we're just going to call him Bob, make it real simple. No, I don't really know anybody named Bob Roberts. I'm just making this up. So go on and add the account. Now Bob's account is added, and there's his name. We can change that if we like at any time. And let's pick Bob a picture. Let's say Bob likes baseball, so we'll give him a baseball there. It's a standard account. As an administrator, you have the power to change that. You could change Bob to an administrator if you wanted to. You can select his language. Hopefully he speaks the same language you do. The account is currently disabled because no password is set. To enable the account, we will set a password for it. And the automatic login is disabled, and I'm not a big fan of automatic login on a multi-user account system. It is not a good idea from a security point of view to let people just log into the computer. They need to have a password, even if it is a weak password, and it's just my personal opinion. You could automatically log into your system and have everybody else do it if you want to, but for me, I like to make sure everybody has a password. And the reason why it says the last login was because I actually created this account before I started the video, just to make sure I didn't make any stupid mistakes. But Bob, really, we're going to assume that he was never here. And if he was never here, if I created another account and called it Sarah, then it wouldn't have come up, but I just used the same name. So we have created Bob's account, but as of this point, it's not working because we would have to set a password. If you open this here, we can actually give Bob the privilege to log in without a password. Not a good idea. And if we set a password here, this will work just fine. There's no issue with setting a password here. However, Ubuntu will not let you set a password that's too simple. So I'm going to try and set the password Bob123. And it's not even going to let me do it. See? Too short. So basically what I would have to do to get a password into the system here is I would have to come up with one of those passwords that's 25 characters long, because all of these passwords are passed through a program that tests their relative strength. Well, that's fine. But I have a problem with a program that doesn't let me do something on my computer. I should be able to set whatever password I want to. It can tell me that it's a weak password, but you better let me set the password. So there's a way around this. We're going to go ahead and close this. We're going to open up a terminal. I'm going to show you how to manage passwords from the terminal. And this way you can put in any password that you want, and the machine is not going to give you any trouble for it. And I find this to actually be easier to do anyway than to navigate to a GUI and wait for it to open up. I get less confused because I know what I'm doing. Actually, you can do pretty much all of the user account management from the terminal. You can use the add user command, the del user command, and you can set people up without ever getting into a GUI, which is nice if you are going to have a system where you're going to be managing it over the internet, like with a secure shell or something like that. But I'll use the GUI to get started and then use the password command. So we want to do this as an administrator. Sudo. Oh, sudo, no. Bob. When you issue this command, try and make sure that you always do it with a username behind it, whether it's yours or somebody else on the computer. And the reason why is because if you issue this command without a username and you set a password, you have just activated the root account on Ubuntu. Ubuntu and its derivatives do not actually have a root or super user or administrator account activated, and it's for security purposes. And so that's why we use the sudo command, which is super user do. In other words, we imitate the root user when we do those commands, and that way it's just a lot safer. Nobody can get into your computer and brute force themselves in as root and from the network and start looking around the system if the account doesn't exist. So just make sure that you always have a name behind this if you're going to be using this. So the first thing it's going to do is ask for my password, make sure I'm the administrator, and then it's going to say enter new Unix password, because this is a rather old utility that goes way, way, way back in Unix and Minix and Linux computing. So we're going to give Bob a password, and I'm going to make it real simple. Bob has Bob123, baby. And the password is set, so that means Bob's account exists. Now, as an administrator, if you don't want Bob to get into your computer anymore, this is the easiest way to make sure that Bob can't get into the system. You don't have to delete his account. Maybe Bob does something you don't like and you want to banish him from the system for a little while before, so you can have a talk with him and say, hey, it's my computer and don't do this stuff with it and whatever. You can reactivate the password. Best thing to do is just change it to something he doesn't know. You can also lock the account using the password command. If you'd like to know more, then you can run a man against it. In other words, man password will tell you all the options and how it works. So anyway, our password is created. So we're going to exit the terminal because that's all we need to do there. And we are going to log ourselves out. We're going to go log in as Bob. All right. So let's log in as Bob. B-O-B 123. It'll take just a second or two for this account to actually load because it's creating the account. This is the first time that we've logged in, and it has to create the files and all of the directory settings and all this other stuff. So here we are, we're in Bob's account. It looks very much like the account we got when we first logged into the system. And interestingly enough, the software center is here, but Bob is not going to be able to install software because he is a standard user. He cannot do it without administrator privileges. And here's another point. Don't tell your users your administrator password, or it's pointless to have the security that we're trying to get here. I mean, you might as well just set them up as administrators if they can put your password in. So he's obviously not going to be using this piece of software, the software center, so you can unpin that from the launcher. The Amazon widget, we don't need that. And of course, since this is a new account, you have to go through and set the same settings that you set on your account. If it's things like power management settings, when the computer's going to suspend, when the screen's going to go dark, all that stuff. But one thing I make sure that I turn off before I let anybody else use the computer is this stupid search option that Ubuntu has, where you can get search results in the dash from Amazon or wherever they come from. They usually don't have anything to do with what you're searching for, and I always thought that was a rather strange feature. And so just so we make it look nice here, we can kind of make it match up to the rest of the system. Set the taskbar size, set the behavior, so where it more closely matches our account. Of course, Bob can always change this later. The beautiful thing about this is that whoever is using your system is not going to be able to change something that's going to affect your account or the system completely because they're not the administrator. But what happens if you have to jump in real quick, like Bob says, I need a piece of software for whatever reason? Well, here's what you can do. Jump in here. You don't have to log Bob out. You can jump in here to a terminal, and you can issue this command, su, and then your name. And it's going to ask for your password. This is your password. And now you are logged into the system. You are in Bob's you're in Bob's folders still, but you're in the system and you are in there as yourself while Bob's account is still running in the background. So now you can come in here and you could fix Bob's problem or install software. You know, let's think of something to install that's small. Well, here, I'll put GRSync in here, like Bob would ever need it, but it's a small program. But it won't hurt to have it on the computer for demonstration purposes anyway. So there we go. We've installed the software. And as soon as it gets done installing, which will take just a second, we can verify that it's in the menu. So some other things to talk about having multiple user accounts. I tell people to make sure that when they are done on the computer that they want to log out. Yep, there it is. It showed up. So what you should tell your other users is that don't suspend the system and leave it suspended, because if they do that, then their account is just sitting there running in the background. Another thing that people do, especially in Ubuntu, because they make it so easy, is they switch users, which I'm doing right now. And see, it shows that Bob is still logged in, so both of these accounts are active and they're working at the same time. So if I log in as myself, then there's actually another account running in the background, and whatever programs that Bob left open are still running. When you log out of the system, it closes everything that you're currently using. See, like right now, if I would go to shut down, if I wanted to shut down or restart, it's warning me there's other people logged into this computer. And if I shut them down, I'm going to shut their accounts down as well. So I like to tell people, when you're done, log out, go to the login screen, and either shut it down or get up and walk away. That way you know there's nothing running in the background that's going to cause any problems there. Now to get back to Bob's account, we'll have to put in Bob's password. And we're now back at the fictitious Bob Roberts account. And pretty much this is all you need to know. The files in Bob's account are his. And generally speaking, other users can view files, but they can't do anything with them. They can't copy them, they can't move them, they can't delete them on the system. And this is one of the really nice things about Linux. As a matter of fact, let me once again log out of the fictitious Bob, because we're going to remove his account in just a second anyway, before we wrap up the video, so I can show you how to do that. So let me log in as me again. And now we're in the system, and I want to show you how this all breaks down in your home folder. So, all right. So if we open up Nautilus, the files program, the file manager, and we look at the computer, and we go to the home folder, this is where all the user account information lives. So if you're going to back up your entire machine, you'll need to back up yours, you'll need to back up Bob's as well. We can go into Bob's account and we can look around, but we really can't do anything with it because it's Bob's. We'd have to do it as an administrator, because the administrator can get to anything. Now, if you wanted to share your music collection with the other users on the system or any other files, you can create a folder here called public. We talked about sharing that on a network in our last video, but this can also be used to share files with other people on the same system, so they would be able to navigate to it. Let me do that again. Properties, and we're going to set the permissions. And as you can see now, I'm the only person that can change and delete files. Other people can access them, but they can't do anything with them. So if you wanted people to be able to create and delete out of there, then you'd have to set that there. Once you set that, then anything you put in that folder would automatically be shared. Right now, this is already set to just read only. And you can do the same with your music. Your music here, there's nothing in here. But you can set the properties, and you can give people access to it. And the way you let everybody else be able to see the files without changing them is just set this to access. And if you have something in there that you do not want other system people on the system to see, you can always change that access to none for the group user. There's it's 3 levels of security. There's the file owner, there's the group. You can create a group, a work group of people that can all work on the same files. And then there is everybody else, or the rest of the world, and that's usually called other. And you can set the permissions on those files. So your files are very safe. And if you don't want people seeing a file and you're worried about people getting into your stuff, you can change the permissions, you can encrypt them so that you're the only person that can actually do anything with them. Alright, so let's wrap up this video by getting rid of Bob. Okay, so you and Bob have a big fight, and you don't want Bob to have any sort of access to your computer at all. You're done with him. Come in here, unlock Bob's account. Or actually just unlock the the tool here, not the account. Highlight Bob's account. Hit the little minus key there. And you can delete him by deleting his files. If you want to keep his files around for some reason, that will leave his folder there in the home folder. You may be just disabling the account for a while. You might want to go back to it and recreate it, and you can keep those files around, or you can just go through the files or dump them or whatever you want to do. We're going to delete the files because Bob, he was kind of fun as an imaginary friend, but we're all grown up now and we don't need to do that. Bob is gone. That's it. There is no more account for Bob on your system, so you can shut down. Hope this video was helpful. Comments, questions, criticisms, everything short of insults is always welcomed. Don't forget that if you want to get started in Linux and you want me to help you do that, check out EasyLinux.com. I can help you get installed and set up and actually offer you 6 months of support for a ridiculously low price. Man, it's unbelievable. I need to go check that out. Thanks for watching the vid. We'll talk again soon.